According to Keyamo, the Fly Nigeria Act will mandate that all air transportation funded by the government, including trips by government officials, contractors, grantees, and government properties, be carried out using Nigerian flag carriers. He likened the initiative to the Cabotage Act, which supports indigenous operators in the marine sector, and highlighted the urgent need to protect Nigeria's aviation market from external dominance. Well, joining me to discuss this in details is our in-house analyst, Ifoma Okeke Koriocha. Good morning. Well, how are you doing today?
I'm fine.
Thank you for joining us in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So, we're talking about the Fly Nigeria Act. Can you give us a background into what this is about and its core objectives?
Okay, so the Fly Nigeria Act is supposed to be, it's not an act yet, so it's still on the proposal stage. So it's supposed to be, Fly Nigeria is supposed to encourage indigenous airlines. For instance, airlines that operate in Nigeria, like domestic carriers in Nigeria, public officials that are being bankrolled with public money. Maybe you're going on a trip and you're a public official or you're a minister, but you are being bankrolled with public money. You're supposed to patronize a Nigerian carrier. You're not supposed to patronize a foreign airline with foreign carrier. So if you are being bankrolled with public money, you're supposed to patronize a Nigerian carrier. But this act is still on the proposal stage, right? Like I said, it's not yet an act. We've had in the past where individuals have pushed for this act to come on board, but it's not been really, I don't know, the government has not really backed it up. And it's interesting that we have Keyamo, the current Minister of Aviation, backing up this act and saying that he's going to go all out to ensure that this becomes an act. For now, he's just proposing it. For now, it needs to go to the National Assembly first for it to become a bill, and then for the president to now assent to it for it to be an act. But for now, it's still in the proposal. And people are quite excited about it. It's really, really going to encourage operators, local carriers, because some public officials would want to fly other foreign carriers. They have their reasons. But if there's a law that states that you cannot use public money to fly a foreign carrier, you'd see that it's going to boost local carriers, it's going to boost their operations, patronizing them is really going to be a great deal in the industry, and it will keep the money in-house. I hope you understand what I mean, keep the money in-house. You're not going to be spending dollars out, so we are going to have more resources. It's going to really, really grow the aviation sector.
So you mentioned that this has been in the works for quite some time.
Yeah.
What changed now? Why is it a priority right now?
So why it's a priority right now, I think it's just the Minister of Aviation that we have. I think for me, he's forward-looking. For me, local carriers is a priority for him. For me, I think he just wants to boost the sector, and he feels like this is one of the ways to do this. However, we have a challenge. We have a little challenge. Let's even look at it. Let's say we want to, this would now become an act. Where are the airlines to fly international routes? Let's be practical. The only airline that flies international now is Airpeace. We have about 13 airlines, but only Airpeace is flying international routes. And what are the routes? London and South Africa. Those are the active routes. However, the airline had started flying other routes before, like we have Dubai, Tel Aviv, Israel, Jeddah, China, and Mumbai. But all these other routes have been suspended for one reason or the other. So you say you're trying to make something an act. Where are the airlines to even fly it, to even make this a reality? If we have more airlines, if we have more flag carriers, on the skies, on the international skies, you'll be happy that, oh, when this thing comes on board, these are the people that will benefit. But who are they? It's just Airpeace really now. So, what's for me, first of all, what should be the big challenge is how to get more local carriers to fly international routes. Then we'll now have an act that encourages them to stay on the international routes.
Yeah, so you mentioned that the issue of local carriers, and it's interesting because the story mentions that Keyamo, there have been conversations about Keyamo dismissing the establishment of a national carrier, right? Like the Nigerian Airways, we all know what happened with that. So, how do you think that how do you project this working out? Because there are many conversations about if this would go through. Do you think that this is a barrier to it being passed?
You mean not
The
implementing,
the
not having a
unavailability
national carrier?
of national carriers
You remember when I started, I said there are two things. We have a national carrier. A national carrier is owned by the government, and then flag carriers. Flag carriers are carriers that are domestic, but they are flying international routes.
And we only have one of them.
And then we only have one of them. So yes, it's a challenge because when we had the Nigeria Airways back then, that was when this act really came on board, you know. Nigerian Airways, we went to London. Public officials, people who were elected, you know, had to fly Nigeria. They had no choice. That was when the act was really effective. But now there's no Nigerian Airways. There's no national carrier currently. What we just have are flag carriers. I mean, one flag carrier anyway, Airpeace, you know, that's doing this. So I think it's going to, like I said, it's going to constitute a huge challenge because we need the carriers first of all, then the acts. If the act is there, there are no carriers to benefit from this act, then what's the need for the act?
And we've been talking about the proposed Nigerian Fly Nigeria Act, and we're talking about how the unavailability of some local carriers could hinder the proposed success of this. So I want to ask, shouldn't we focus on making sure that the carriers are available before we start talking about the act itself? Aren't we putting the cart before the horse?
Well, I would like to also toe that line. I think so. I think we have to first make the carriers available. Like I said, Airpeace is just the only carrier out of 13 local airlines that's active on international roads. So we need to first make these airlines viable enough for them to fly international routes. And you know, I know that there are challenges that are hindering these airlines from going international. Like I said when I started, aeropolitics. You know, there's a global aeropolitics going on against African carriers. It's glaring. And you know, whenever you want to go on a route, the first impose taxes. First of all, it's taxations. You know, they impose on you. And at the end of the day, I know Airpeace sometimes have cried out on how taxes that are imposed on his airline are even more than revenues generated on that route. So how do you want to succeed? For example, you're carrying a passenger, maybe a load factor of 200 passengers. I would give you maybe, let's say, 5 million naira or 6 million naira. And then taxation is 5.5 million. And we're not talking about fuel, we're not talking about crew, we're not talking about maintenance, we're not talking about insurance. How do you want to succeed on that route? So already it's a killer. You can't survive on the route. So there's an aeropolitics that is going on. And I'm happy that Keyamo, with the launch of the earlier this year of Airpeace going to London, he fought for Airpeace. And he stood his ground and said, if anything you impose on Airpeace, we are also going to impose it on your airline. And so those guys had to step back a little, you know, and that's why we see that Airpeace is still there. And we hope that it's going to be the route is going to be sustainable, because we've had airlines in the past go on that route. Medview, for example, said they were not treated well, you know, and Medview had to also suspend. Although Medview currently suspended operations both in Nigeria, you know, but that route was also a killer for them, because you know you are operating the route and you're using almost all your revenues on that route. So I feel first of all, Keyamo has to fight the aeropolitics. Fighting the aeropolitics may also lead to bilateral relations. For example, anything you impose on my airline, I will impose it on your airlines. If you do this to Airpeace, I do this to your airlines here. So I think when we are serious, we need to first be serious, and then we need to, before we now talk about some of these things. And also, apart from that, if Keyamo fights the aeropolitics outside, we also have the homegrown challenges that are here. Challenges of fuel, foreign exchange. Airlines collect money in naira, but everything, as much as a nut in an airplane, is bought with foreign currencies. So how do you want to survive? You know, their analysis have been done over time to see how much is generated on an average Boeing 737, which we have in Nigeria. I mean, we have other airlines, but that's dominant in Nigeria, Boeing carrier, Boeing airplanes. So you see that they operate this airline and these airplanes, and according to them, with the average cost of tickets to be between 80 and maybe 120,000, they are not getting enough money. And you would want to really believe them, because when you look back, we have had in the last 25 to 30 years over 50 airlines going under. Why are they going under? So first of all, we need to also address the homegrown challenges. If airlines will go outside for international operations, they have to have the money. They have to have the support.
Yes.
If you don't have money to fight international politics, why are you going there? So that's why we have many airlines go there and die on the way. So some of the challenges are still there.
Very, very interesting. And how are people feeling about this? How are the experts feeling about this? What are stakeholders saying? Is there support for this, or are there some concerns?
So for the Fly Nigeria Act, of course, an average Nigeria should support it. Yes, an average Nigeria should support it. You let our money stay in house, But then, like I said, the concerns about not even having carriers to fly, it's where the problem is. We're excited. We want this. We want to see our airlines. How if Sirica had operated the Nigeria Air properly, and now we have Nigeria Air flying in London, going to US, going to New York, and then you as an average traveler, you are in New York. That's my country's flag carrier, or my country's national carrier. Won't you be excited? You'll be excited. But then you go to other countries and you're looking at South African Airways, you're looking at Kenya Airways in London, in US, and you're asking, where is Nigeria? It's pathetic, and it's something we need to work towards. And the Fly Nigeria Act, perfect. But like I said, we are the carriers.
Do you see this act, the proposed bill, as a comprehensive move to benefit everyone, or do you anticipate it benefiting some sectors more, or some particular regions more, considering the fact that some regions are the presence of international airports in some certain states?
Well, that's another thing altogether, but I think generally it's benefiting Nigeria as a whole. So let's also talk about presence of airports. I, for one, I may have some I may not agree totally that international airports should be everywhere in the country, because the truth is that we have many airports that are not viable. We have several airports in Nigeria today that we hardly even have an airplane operates there a day, or just one airplane that operates there in a day. So why build an airport where nobody is flying into that airport? So first of all, there are concerns about that. So first of all, we need to look at those concerns and not just build airports everywhere. First of all, you make those airports viable before you talk about other things. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Informa, for joining me on the show today. Fortunately, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for your insight, and we hope to see you again next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, thank you for joining us, viewer. Do stay with us. We'll be right back with more interesting episodes for you. I'm Bethel Jabi. Same time, same station. Enjoy the rest of your day, and Merry Christmas.